India involvement with Africa is of fairly recent origin. Our trade with South Africa has been good, it's growing. It's 15 billion, going to projected at 15 billion 2014. With Africa as a whole, it is about 53 billion currently. India trade with Africa in the last year increased by about 20%. But as yet, India is a very small player in the African story. The reasons for this is also on account of historical factors. The Indian growth story started sometime in 91, 92 when Government of India decided to liberalize and deregulate the economy, resulting in elbow room being created for a large number of entrepreneurs who started emerging in the economic space. And the Indian growth story is largely the result of the growth story of these entrepreneurs as they started out finding their own destinies within the economic space. And till recently, the growth has been endogenous within the system, and Indian involvement with the rest of the world has been low. Our trade to GDP is only about 14–15% even currently. And the bulk of trade relationships was with the developed countries in the Eurozone and the US. As growth progressed, an imperative need was also to find newer markets and newer areas in which to expand. What is happening in India is that entrepreneurs are competing with each other to grow within the Indian space. Now, growth in India is respectable at about 7 to 8%, but entrepreneurs and companies and corporates are expecting and wanting to achieve individual rates of growth more than this rate. So they are hunting for space in which to grow. And this competition is resulting in them seeking out new markets and new source avenues of investment in order to grow. Some of them are going to Europe and to US, but a large number of them now we are trying to entice them to go into relatively unexplored areas such as Latin America and Africa. And Africa in particular, we are trying to focus across Africa because we feel that there is huge amount of scope for growth in various spaces, and three broad areas of where investment growth can take place in Africa. One is infrastructure, second is agriculture, and the third is in the resource industries. The Indian growth story was a result of agriculture growing in a space which was created by small farmers through improved practices. And the Indian growth story is that of small agriculture growing and agri-businesses growing alongside that. Now, the growth of agri-businesses aiding growth of agriculture is a story which we think can be taken to Africa. So this is one dimension where Indian companies, or Indian entrepreneurs rather, are looking for space in which to invest. Second is in infrastructure. And infrastructure I would split into two parts, hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure. The soft infrastructure is the concept of capacity building. When entrepreneurs started developing in India, a lot of them came into capacity building and capacity using in areas. And these people find that in order to grow, they have space in areas such as Africa to take this concept of using skill building as a concept of investment and as an avenue of growth for themselves. So a lot of companies and institutions which emerged within the Indian growth story are now looking for space for growth, and they are going into Africa. Hard infrastructure, the Indian economic experience has been that of small companies trying to grow. And because of the size of the corporates, the involvement in hard infrastructure so far has been limited because the infrastructure investments in these scales require huge amount of capital. But Exim Bank of India has been trying to assess them into going into these spaces by providing debt capital, and we also look for partners in providing equity capital for helping these corporates grow. And we take our knowledge about their credit histories in India to help risk mitigate these investment decisions. But this is one area where Indian investments so far have been on a lesser amount. And the third is in the resource industries. And the resource industries, a lot of corporates are now looking for avenues to augment their access to supplies of natural resources, because the Indian growth story has been such that they are in their competition with each other. They experience that a company which has got better access to materials can compete more effectively. And we are helping Indian corporates also hunt for in their things worldwide and including Africa. In the next 5 to 7 years, as the Indian growth story continues, we expect a rising involvement of Indian corporates of various dimensions in various countries of Africa.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.